evening, and namaste. Welcome, welcome to another edition of Master Strokes by IICA. My name is Arjun Datta, and I'm your host this evening. Our guests need absolutely no introduction today. They have been traveling the length and breadth of India, finding culinary gems across the country on our very own highways. And today, might I add, they're in the hearts and minds of millions as they explore and discover the lovely food of India. Thank you so much, Rocky and Mayur, for being with us today. Thanks.
Thanks for having us.
Lovely.
Yeah, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Yeah. We like people who are in food and food guys. So always good to be here.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. So now I want to start with a little bit of a background. I mean, I've tried to encapsulate it as short as I can. It was very difficult, I must add. So Rocky, you started your career with, with airlines, and you were a CEO of a multinational company. You ran your restaurant, played sports. Many of those whose rules I don't even know, and you're also into and Mayur, you're an avid traveler. Well, that's an understatement because you've traveled, what I've learned is you've traveled to more than 60 countries, and you've taught English in foreign languages, foreign countries. You've climbed mountains and so much more. And so to top it all off, you're both from a very city of Delhi. So now my question is, from hosting a television, authoring books, some awesome books may I add, consulting brands, covering the entire landscape of India. What is it? Is there anything that you haven't done yet?
Well, I'll say this. I know your father is from Pusa Institute of Hotel Management, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I joined it in 1989, and I was there for 10 minutes. It was an honor. I paid my fees and I went in, and they threw me out because I was badly dressed. Well, I left. I didn't want to be there. I was actually in SRCC, and I did that for a year. And then I wanted to be a chef, so I went to Pusa. I got in, big thing. It was a big thing those days.
Very big.
And I paid the, and I paid the fees, and I walked in, and within 10 minutes, they and I both mutually decided that we were not for each other, so I left.
Big loss to the chef fraternity, because then I could have had a best friend who was a chef and I could have got free food, as opposed to a best friend who hangs around with me and both of us have to go and try and find free food. If only you'd stuck on for a few years. Kahan hote ab?
Yeah, but look at the bright side of things here. Now, IICA will have 150 chefs a year to be friends with. Yes. That's a lot of chefs.
That's a lot of chefs, and thank you so much. You are indeed our friends, and will remain so. So now, as I want to ask you now, Mayur, you're a vegetarian, and Rocky, if I may say so, you love your non-veg. Now, does it play, in your own mind, in your own views, does it play a major role on to have boundaries when you want to appreciate a cuisine of a country or a region? Does it play any role if you have boundaries or don't have boundaries? How well do you appreciate cuisine with boundaries or without boundaries?
Okay, I just want to go back to question. Sorry, I'm just jumping back here. I was a good student in class. अभी तक पहले क्वेश्चन का आंसर नहीं मिला, तो क्वेश्चन 2 हम नहीं जाएंगे. पहले फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन. So I think just anything we haven't done, there's lots of things that I think are on all our bucket lists. Rocky will share. I know Rocky has this beautiful dream of going up into the mountains and setting up a share it with you. But before we do any of that, we are really wanting to get back on the road again. In fact, we are doing these podcasts now called Highway on My Podcast. It's available on Apple and Audible and all the other podcast platforms, where we get together with the producer and the director of the show and we talk. And the idea is, and here's the big idea. The idea is to, we've heard about how much love there is for Highway on My Plate, for the whole idea of food and travel. The idea is to build an online community of people who love the show. And, when you shoot any show and you have sponsors, then you always have these sponsored deliverables and in some ways restrictions. We really now want to take a show back onto the road where we will discover it. It'll be not just for the viewers, it'll be by the viewers. We're going to try and crowdsource. We're going to build a community. We'll all contribute to the show so that we can get out on the road and we can cover the food of India. So that's something we're really interested in doing. We want to definitely write a couple of books. We're working on our next one. So that's my sort of work thing. And then what I want to do in the future, I'm already halfway to a retirement home. I moved to the family. So he's like, "You already in foot in the retirement home. I'm over there, but this is what I do." You're right.
All right, well.
Yeah, I think the sort of more you do, the more time you actually free up because you become more efficient. And I think as a nation, it's our national character that when one person says, okay, now we must all do this, then the whole country starts doing that. He said, now we must do this, everybody must do that. I think that is a big failing in this country. There are 1.3 crore people in this country. If they're doing hundreds and thousands of different things, that is the best for this country. So whoever does whatever job, they must do it to the best of their ability. So if you're, even if you're washing dishes in a hotel or a restaurant, if you wash dishes well, you have contributed to the nation. If you chop vegetables well, you've contributed to the nation. If you cook your food to the best of your ability and the best of your thought process and your imagination, you've done a good job. Now, if you're half the time focusing on the guy who's washing dishes because the guy who's supposed to fix the light didn't come and the light is not working and the electricity is not there, nothing is going to happen. And that's what happens in India. Everybody is responsible for everything. So I think that needs to end. So while we continue to do more and more things, I think other people would be well served to remember that it's important to have specialization and to do many different things together for the country. So, while banning everything that is Chinese is a good idea, yesterday I was asking people, I said, should we ban everything Chinese? And they said, no, let's take the sponsorships, but ban everything in the small scale sector. Why do you want to kill the small scale sector, boss? Start from the top, no. Shut down the companies that are Chinese, then shut down the news channels that are taking money from the Chinese, then tell the government to stop importing Chinese. Then nobody will buy anything Chinese anyway. Why do you want to start from the poor guy at the bottom who's really got everything to lose and nothing to gain? So I think that is what we need to do. It's a big country. We are beautiful. We have many different things going on in different parts of the country, different languages, costumes, colors, everything. Let's keep it that way. That's answer one. Abhi to ek hi hua hai. Oh, baapre.
अगर मैं विशेष टिप्पणी दूं रॉकी के आंसर वन की कि नेक्स्ट इज देयर एनीथिंग ही हैजंट डन तो पॉलिटिशियन बाबा जी बनो री-इलेक्शन but so those are the things that Rocky hasn't done.
Well, I think those two are good career opportunities right now. I should either become Babaji or become a politician.
Which one? Which one do you think?
Well, I can talk as much nonsense as all Babajis. I can twist things around, and say things like, "I would love to choose, but sometimes it's the choice that chooses you, and not you that choose the choice." So I'm half a Babaji anyway.
Guruji.
And I'm a fairly good liar also, so I could become a politician as well. So dono jagah mera chance equal hai, like 50-50. I'm just growing my beard and trying to wait for my hair to become white. I think when it does, by then I would have made a decision.
Fantastic. No, I think really, honestly, thank you so much, and lovely answers, both of you. Well, I hope that you don't become a Babaji or for that matter, a politician, because you're doing a fantastic job doing what you do. So please continue doing that. That's
Thank you. Okay, Mayur, do you remember the second question now or no?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. How do boundaries help or not? Do boundaries help or not? I think number one, boundaries is if you're talking about it in the context of choices, then the only boundaries you set yourself are the choices you make. How you choose to approach any situation in your life or what you want to do. And then, most importantly, if you've made those choices, then realize that as an adult, you're also stuck with the consequences of those choices. They could be good, they could be bad. You can choose, how you learn from them. So the only boundaries that you should impose on yourself are those of choice. So now, specifically referring to what you were saying as a non-vegetarian or a vegetarian, I always had the option. I traveled, I've gone all over the world. It is a conscious choice of me to stay vegetarian. Has that got in the way of me enjoying food? No, because I really enjoy the other food I eat. So those were my choices. So no, to me, I think boundaries, then where do you stop your boundaries? And people start saying, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, then Who decides your boundaries? So the only person that should decide boundaries is yourself, provided they're not illegal or amoral. They can even be fattening, no problem. You want to get up and eat a giant chocolate cake at night and that's no boundaries, eat it.
But they say,
Well,
sorry,
I'll just say, it's an interesting question. It's a very interesting question because number one, I think there are vegetarians and there are meat eaters. So this non-vegetarian term, I don't like. It's like saying either you're a meat eater or a non-meat eater. So vegetarians are welcome to their definition. Meat eaters should have their own definition. So there's nothing called non-vegetarian. It's meat eater or vegetarian or omnivore and vegetarian. But having said that, I think like the tribes in Andaman Nicobar right now, there are some islands that have their boundaries intact. Nobody's broken those boundaries, so they have their life over there. Now, is that the life that you want? By all means, I'm sure they're happy, but they live, lack of civilization. They don't understand medicine. Life expectancies are short. Life is hard, and it's a good life. I mean, I would love to live like that. I don't know about the rest of the world. But those are people who maintain their boundaries carefully. And that's what happens when you maintain boundaries very strongly. If you don't expose yourself to influences, you'll never grow. I mean, what are you doing by running a chef training facility? You're running a facility that will make people break their boundaries of their limitations and take in a lot more. Some things from the West, some things from the East, some things from the North, some things from the South. And that will become a beautiful knowledge bank in one person who will then grow up to give opportunities and employment to many people here. So I think boundaries are for people who are scared. Boundaries are for people who are limited. Respect. If you respect each other, then the boundary is very different. So I think respect and appreciation is on one side. Boundaries are on the other. I don't think you necessarily need to have boundaries in the world anywhere. And especially not in a democratic country that's looking to uplift itself, or in a democratic institution that's looking to become better. You will have to break boundaries. That is the conscious role of today's citizen in the world, is to break the boundaries that limit you and work on the boundaries of things like safety against COVID. You have to have boundaries. So I mean, it's a nuanced question, but personally, I'm not one for boundaries. A world without boundaries is a better world.
Khane mein dekh lo. If you had started doing some of the stuff now, you're hearing all this nonsense now. Don't eat Chinese food, don't this. Imagine way back then when we had different cultures and civilizations that came to India and we said, inka khana, inka khana, inka khana. If you start putting boundaries on food right now, then 95% of the food will go away because it's influenced in some way or the other by other civilizations, by visitors, by foreign influences. So where are your boundaries there then?
That's a very interesting perspective. I think that's very, very valid. We would not have a country so rich and so diverse if we had boundaries. I think those are golden words. Obviously, really given a very good dimension to this aspect. And I liked Rocky's expression that, either be a meat eater or vegetarian. That is how I'm going to describe it from now on. I'm a meat eater.
Sorry. There you go.
Lovely. All right, so I'm going to move on to my next question. The restaurant industry in India, we've noticed that particularly in metropolitan cities, there've been a paradigm shift. All major cities have had an influx of a lot of high-end regional cuisine restaurants. Now there are a lot of good regional cuisine restaurants in Delhi, in Bombay. Now, with that trend in mind, number one, I want to ask that, do you see a lot of street food, a lot of highway cuisine coming into restaurants also? Since you travel so many highways, do you think they're required to come in, or do you think they belong there and should be appreciated there? And also with that, I want to ask, what other couple of trends have you seen in the last few years as you've traveled?
Wow, यार हम multiple choice answer तो नहीं दे सकते, पर ये multiple question बहुत जरूर पूछता है. एक के अंदर तीन. Rocky, do you remember all three? You start with the first. Have we lost Rocky?
No, I think he's, so
he's
I think
frozen with a very serious look on his face. There he is. He's back. He's back.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, crystal clear. Thanks.
Yeah, okay. I'll start with the first one. I think the first one was, street foods coming into restaurants. I think it's a singularly poor idea because, a variety of a country's cuisine has to be everywhere. So you have to have your top-end fine dining restaurants. They're very, very important. You have to have your absolute disorganized street food sector for a guy to get a nice meal for 5 rupees, 10 rupees, 15 rupees. You have to have your standalone restaurants. You have to have associate restaurants, multi cuisines, single cuisine. Everything is important because the pleasure of sort of, let me put it this way, if you're out for a fine meal with your family sitting in a nice restaurant, you can't replicate that experience on the street. But if you're in the mood to have, like a really nice plate of chatpata golgappas with the pani and do it your own way and stuff, you can't have it in a restaurant here. So I don't think it's a either or. I think this is also has its own place and it should have, and that has its own place as it should have. So I think street food is more reactive. It's more responsive. It changes more with people's hobbies. Like you'll see now, whenever this lockdown sort of starts getting over already, we are seeing a lot of street food vendors have now started wearing masks and gloves, and they put signs on top saying, made with RO water and stuff like that. So already they're responding well to the crisis. And I think more hygiene is really going to help street food. But that's the thing. As people's palate changes, street food gets affected first. And that is the barometer for which all other restaurants sort of take their cues from there and then build up. Of course, there are classic cuisines that don't ever change. And there is something to be said about those places also. Some things should remain constant in an ever-changing world. So again, like I said, a bouquet, a nice spread, more important.
Okay, good. Thanks a lot for that. My second question was...
I have a slightly different view. That's why I want to jump in. I have a slightly different view on this. Just slightly nuanced from what Rocky is saying. It goes back again to the boundaries thing. The boundaries nahi honi chahiye. If a fine dining restaurant wants to put some street-inspired food in their menu, as some have done, there's a restaurant now called Komorin, yes, which basically most of their dishes are inspired from like street food dishes from regional cuisines and stuff. But for all those who go there, don't go there expecting the same experience, the same taste, the same thing. Don't say, these golgappas don't taste like the golgappas that my corner guy gives. It will be a completely different experience because it will be inspired. You will not get that taste. You will not get that thing. We all know that. Especially in India, we know that. The chola bhaturas that you have in Old Delhi will always be much better than the chola bhaturas, even if the same guy comes to your house and makes it with all the same spices on it. Pani alag hoga, hawa alag hogi. Patile mein 100 saal ka wo thoda sa grease ka part nahi hoga. So it will be different. So that is why I also agree with what Rocky is saying, that things have their place and there they flourish the most. Yeah. But can they come in? Yes, they can. And I recall you saying that regional food has come into fine dining cities. It's only come into fine dining now. In some cases, some of that regional food was already there, but in very, very small things, eaten only by that particular community living in another city. So the people from Manipur, the people from Nagaland, the people from, even Bihar, they have their own little places where they go, where they can get the food from home. They can get those tastes. They can interact with the community, their fellow community members from that state. So those are there. But now it was never acknowledged, or it didn't come into, to say, mid-level and fine dining. And now it is. And if there's one thing that Rocky and I would like to take credit for, is that we helped bring about that awareness and that joy and that celebration of regional cuisine, and getting people to be open to the idea of experimenting with the food of other parts of India, forget about abroad. So वो वाला हम ले लेते हैं.
Hey, वो पूरा credit आपको है. वो पूरा का पूरा credit I give to both of you. I think the whole country does, because before many of your shows, and there isn't one, of course, there are many shows. We didn't know about all these cuisines. We didn't know about these hidden gems. We didn't know about where to eat when we're traveling somewhere else. I mean, we knew about the very popular ones around our city, nothing beyond that.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. All right. So now when we're talking about your travels and taking so much, celebrating so much about cuisine, obviously it's a big feat for a restaurant to get noticed. So now in your own words, Rocky and Mayur, tell us, what does it get noticed? What does it take to get noticed by Rocky and Mayur if you're on the street selling food? What is that one thing that stands out? Is it a fancy board? Is it a non-fancy board? Is it that board that says Rocky and Mayur welcome here? What is it?
But
We are
that,
curious Billy. So the first thing it takes is the large crowd outside it because you're like, यहाँ क्या हो रहा है? Yeah, but at the end of the day, I'm Indian है ना. अभी बड़ा सा crowd टिकेगा first will be भाई साहब क्या हो रहा है यहाँ? खाना मिल रहा है. अच्छा कौन सा वाला खाना मिल रहा है? ये वाला मिल रहा है. ओ ये तो इस city का खाना है. अच्छा है. हाँ अच्छा है. Now we'll try it. First thing, a large crowd around it.
All right.
Rock.
yeah, I think taste and the love for that restaurant is the most important thing that we look for. So, you know, on all our shows, people say, how come you don't give bad reviews? We give bad reviews very rarely because our research is very good. So we find the most popular places. So number one, they have to be the most popular. Because, you know, how do you define good food? There is no single definition of good food. If you go to, you know, if you're in Tripura or Manipur, what is good food is very different from good food in Gujarat, which is very different from good food in, you know, Tamil Nadu, very different from good food in Jammu Kashmir. So you can't really say this is good because it appeals to my palate. My palate can be very limited. You know, the northeastern states are a very prime example of that. Assam is the last place where there is some familiarity with the food. After that, it's completely alien to my palate as a Punjabi guy living in Delhi. I have no experience with that kind of food. But over the years, by understanding, when people saying, okay, we love this place, you know, people from Nagaland themselves say, we love this place. This is the best Naga cuisine you'll get in our city. And I go there and I sit with them and I taste their food and I understand the palate, and slowly it grows on me. So now I'm a sort of great fan of things like, you know, Akuni pork or, you know, silkworms with the Raja Mircha and stuff like that. I enjoy those thoroughly. In fact, I miss them every now and then. So I think that's a sort of very critical thing as well. Yeah. So good food is, you know, everybody's food is great, yeah. And popularity are the two things that will get us there every time. Wherever you are in the country, even if we don't understand your food, we'll be there to ask you why it's so popular and why people love it.
Excellent.
And if you serve it with love, and if you serve it with just a passion for excellence, and it doesn't have to be a big hoo-ha, and I'll give you a very quick example. If it's served with love, it's served with care, it's served with attention, then you'll definitely find us wanting to go back there again. And I'll give you a very quick example. It's one of our favorite examples. In Mandwa in Gujarat, there was a guy called Gaba who sold a dabeli. अब वो हर सुबह and हर शाम आता था अपना ठेला लेके. He used to come on a ठेला and his dabeli, he had a very special kind of dabeli. So he had the bun. For those of you watching who don't know what dabeli is, it's a concoction, a mixture. In Kutch especially, they love it. And it's got potatoes with spices and cinnamon and all this mix, and then you put it up and you put it in a bun and in it goes. And this man comes and there's already a line in a small place like Mandwa. Line lagi hui hoti hai. When we were there to shoot, there were about 300 people. He comes, he puts his thela up. He has only 300 dabelis in the morning and 300 in the evening. वो आता है. There is no limit. अगर आप number first in line और आपने 50 ले ली तो बाकी सब के लिए 250 रहेगी. So, for example, when our crew was there, between Rocky and me, I think standing there, we ate 30, and then our crew ate and all how much. And then he does 300 in the evening. So, Rocky asked him, he said, these are so nice, they go so fast. आप 600 बना लो किसी और को लगा के, and you'll double your profit. So he said, no. He said, this is good. I got this recipe from my father, who got it from his grandfather. This is the recipe. This is how we've standardized it. This is what we want to do. I stand there and supervise and do everything. Anybody else comes along, it will not be the same. It won't be the Gaba Dabeli. So I'm very happy with what it is. I'm okay. We even tried at one stage to tell him, Acha, koi baat nahi, this is a it's treasure. Hamare ko ab recipe de do. Nahi, maine. We didn't want to make money from it. We wanted to preserve. We said, Acha, paise le lo. Nahi, maine. And unfortunately, recently he passed. So that's a national treasure lost. But go back there again, because his passion was that I will serve. I don't want more money. I don't want this. I will serve this, and I will serve the same thing with love. So somebody comes back here after 30 years also, they'll say, "Yaar, ye wohi wala taste." That will definitely make a place very, very high in the eyes of Rocky in our rating and in the service of mankind by giving good food.
Absolutely. And I think to be so true to your love for food, that is probably a very, very important ingredient. I'm sure you would agree. So tell me something while we're on that subject. What are the top 3 places you would rate in and around the city of Delhi, since that's the closest we'll probably be able to get during this lockdown? Is there any place that you would recommend that one goes to while still, getting that benefit of your exploration? Or do you not even consider?
Rocky will give 3, I'll give 3. Chalo, Rocky bhaiya. Favorite street food destinations in and around Delhi.
Yeah, I just want to add to what Mayur's answer was last time, that it is not just service to mankind that makes great food. It is also the love for profit. If you really want to make money and your restaurant becomes the finest restaurant because of it, you have done a great job here. You have done your job really well. And that is very important. So please don't knock down profit and the love of success, because the more you succeed, the more people you employ, the more tax you pay, the more you help the country. So it's very important to work really hard and make a lot of money and pay your taxes and help the country grow. So don't take anything away from that. But at the end of the day, as long as your food is tasty, whatever it takes, you should do. Haji, 3 restaurants in Delhi. So I think if we start from the street, then it's a bit of a cliche and many people will go, but I like the Golgappe Wala at Bengali Sweets in Bengali Market.
All right.
It has long been my favorite. Panditji used to be there with a big mustache and he knew exactly how to make my masala. Now his son is there and they make this beautiful masala and they're the finest Golgappas you will eat in Delhi, at least for me. Because they're large, I get them stuffed with aloo and chana and I get lots of mirchi put in it separately. Wo mirchi ka ek masala he puts on the side. And then lots of salt and lots of chili wala pani. And on a mid-level, I think Pandara Road Have More restaurant has been my favorite for decades. We've grown up there. Mayur and I started going there in the 70s together as friends. Wow. And 80s and 90s and 2000s and 10s. So we've been going there forever. And I go there at least twice a month. Even now, I never go less than that. I go more than that sometimes. Wow. And on the top, I think if you take what I think is the finest place, I'd say Indian Accent is probably the finest restaurant in the country right now. Yeah. Just because of the sheer meticulousness, the sheer art and the capability and the ability of the chefs over there, led by Manish Mehrotra, and then there's Shantanu Mehrotra, and then the whole team. Even their sommelier, she's a wonderful young lady, incredible with the choices of wine, and really taking Indian food to the next level where the whole world can appreciate it. So I think those are 3 restaurants that are very close to my heart that I really love. And I mean, there are so many. If Pandara Road is like a 9 on 10 for me, there's a 8.9 on 10 also here. The Moti Mahal GK butter chicken is equally good, Or, there's a new place now that had just opened up now. Again, everything has been shut for a while. But it was named after where the first restaurant opened, the Moti Mahal opened in Paharganj. So it was Paharganj. That itself does a really nice Daryaganj, sorry, not Paharganj. My bad. Daryaganj opened up and Daryaganj does a really nice old-fashioned butter chicken. So that is also now, that I'm wavering between, do I like that taste better or do I like the Pandara Road taste better? So I'm sort of torn between the two. So that's mine. Mayur, what about you?
What about you?
So street, Nand ke chole in Old Delhi, the Daulat ki chaat, and there's one specific guy who stands little thela outside Naughara for the Daulat ki chaat in the winters, and then the old and famous Jalebi wala, also in Old Delhi, and Ghante wala hota tha with Rocky's favorite Habshi Halwa, lekin wo abhi they left. Although I do believe that young Sushant Jain is a student at your institute. He's learning the fine art of pastry, and he's going to he's scheming to do something with that.
Yes, he does.
Did you know that? Do you know what Habshi Halwa is? Rocky explained it.
Rocky?
Habshi Halwa khaya kabhi, Arjun?
No, just so many things, man.
So yeah, so those would be my favorites, and yes, top end and Komal, like I said,
I had
now,
some really
also by the Indian Accent team. We do fantastic food. Sorry, Rock.
No, I'm just saying the Gaddewala did some really legendary food. Yeah, a lot of mithais, his mithais were just out of the world. So it's a real loss to all of us, shutting down. I hope they open up again, and at least I hope they preserve those recipes very carefully. And I'm sure there are many financiers out there who would back them to start up again. So best of luck to them. I hope they start.
Absolutely. Our prayers are with them as well. And certainly you're right. It's a great loss to the scene of Delhi. So Mayur, beyond anything above street that you recommend as well? I mean, you've gone all street. We see, love your street, but let's talk about mid segment and of course then top end.
बहुत है यार. Delhi में there's some fantastic food. Pot belly, which was originally in Shahpur Jat and now is in Bihar Nivas. The food of Bihar, they're fantastic. The Carnatic Cafe, which is just coastal breakfast food. It used to be in New Friends Colony. It's now in GK2. His food is fantastic. If you for rolls and stuff, I mean, I'm not a big fan of any. It's so Rocky because he says their kakori is better than anything outside of possibly kakori itself. So Delhi, we're very, very blessed. In fact, I was looking at this article recently, CNN Travel, saying the best cities for street food in the world. And गलती से कहीं उन्होंने डाल दिया था Bombay, and they mentioned Muhammad Ali Road, and बाकी they even had a couple of cities in the UK and Portland, Oregon and stuff. And I was like, भाइयों तुम्हें कुछ नहीं पता. It continues to be this way. One gully in Old Delhi or Lucknow or Kanpur or this will have more different types and tastes and flavors than any of these places. But पता ही नहीं लोगों को, and that is a challenge, but that is also an opportunity for all of you who are watching this, who are aspiring to, stamp your name on in the cuisine. Then just remember, this is a wonderful opportunity. Chef Manish Mehrotra has shown the way. The Masala Library is doing stuff. Thomas Zacharias at the Bombay Canteen, Mask. But there's an opportunity to really showcase, to figure out how, not by changing the tastes, but how you can really showcase the power of Indian cuisine all over the world. I mean, we've not even scratched the surface yet. So that's a huge opportunity for everybody out there, for all of you watching. Keep that in mind and see what you can do with it. Rocky and I will be very happy to come and eat at all your trials. Phone number मैं भेज दूंगा.
That's a very generous offer, I must say. We invite our guests, at the institute, we generally tell guests that please visit us between 1 and 2. 4 and 5, this is when generally the food gets dished out. So please meet us then. So typically all my friends and people I know generally come and meet us at the institute at these hours. All the tasting is there. We need really good, it's a lot of hard work to taste about 20, food by 40 odd students who are cooking at the same time. I'm sure you'd agree. It's a lot of hard work.
Yeah. We've been to several institutes across the country, including IHM, Institute of Hotel Management and other prestigious institute. So it's a great job. It's a difficult job. And, I think just making sure that the taste is right every time, that takes quite a lot of doing. But it's a fun job. Yeah. There are worse jobs out there. This is a really good job. I have no problem with it.
हमारे पास सर्टिफिकेट सर्टिफिकेट कॉर्डन ब्लो से हमारे को प्रोनाउंसिएशन नहीं आती क्योंकि फ्रेंच में है बट रॉकी मेड अ मलाई चिंगुड़ी for all the chefs there. We'd gone there because our first book, My Plate, it was up for this award in Gourmet World Book Awards, which is like Oscar of food books. So we went and they said, since you're coming all the way from India, आप एक demonstration कर सकते हो on slow food. So he said, lovely, yaar. And so Rocky said, fantastic, great opportunity. He took along his mom-in-law's recipe. मैंने तो बड़ा fast food किया, kurkuri bhindi and masala chai. We laid it out. But Rocky went there and they said, so we went in there and there was a little sign there. Rock, I don't remember. Can you take over the story? Because I crack up when he tells it. Their experience with slow food. And then they gave us a...
Yeah. They had written a slow food demonstration by Rocky and Mayur, and they had put a timing over there and said 45 minutes. So वो 45 को मैंने 1 डाल के 1 hour 45 minutes कर दिया. And I circled the slow foods. And I think people were so fascinated by reading that there'll only be one there'll be tea and something quick to eat. And then there'll be one slow food that will take 1 hour and 45 minutes to cook. So we were supposed to have, I think, about 27 or 30 people there. And we ended up getting about 135 chefs from all over Paris who were like, what do you make in 1 hour, 45 minutes? And this is prawns. I mean, if you're making mutton or something, they might have had to be there for 12 hours, you know, if they knew their Indian food well. Or dal, if they could have been there for 18 hours if we were making dal. But
anyway. Bachcho baitho, halim banayenge.
So it was wonderful. And at the end of it, you know, we had no cutlery because we would get up for about 50 people, but 130 was too much. Wow. So everybody sort of had to dig in with their hands. And it was nice to see, you know, all these people from all over the world at Cordon Bleu eating malai chingri with their hands and the rice. And of course, the heads were more popular than the tails because we only had 50 prawns. So we had to divide each prawn into 3 parts. So, you know, the heads were sort of, which is really the tastiest part of the prawn. So a lot of fun, yeah. A lot of fun there. So हमको certificate तो दे दिया था उन्होंने कि ये हमारे दोस्त हैं. What was it called in French, Mayur?
Mes amis de Corda, ऐसे ही कुछ था यार जो भी है. Certificate मिल गया. दीवार पे लगा देंगे कहीं. But it's nice. Just the thought that there are some, because I mean, some very prestigious chefs out there whose names we don't know because, you know, to us they were just a mass of people there enjoying the demonstration, but who will never forget that India से कोई आया था and ऐसा खाना बनाया था कि chef ने उंगलियां चाटी थी बाद में at the end of it. You know, they'll remember chaat if they remember nothing else.
All right. Well, you know, we've been talking about regional food, and I want to bring my next question over to a lot of the importance of regional food. We talked about it earlier as well. Tell us something, in your own view, Rocky and Mayur, what are the 3 most underrated regional cuisines in India? I mean, I personally believe there is so much, and you added yourself, there's so much more to explore. If you could list maybe 1 or 2 or even 3 most underrated regional cuisines in India. You know, because when you think about India outside, Indian food outside India, you obviously, the stereotype is it's chicken tikka masala. Or at the best we get is a dosa. And that's, you know, that's the sad bit. So we obviously need to educate people more about regional food. And I want to hear from you, since you've tasted pretty much all of it, the most underrated Indian cuisine out there.
Yeah, Mayur and I were discussing this, you know, a while ago. I don't know if he remembers. Mayur, about 2 years ago, we were discussing this. And both of us sort of came up with the same name instantly, Assamese cuisine. You know, it is because of the sort of position of Bengal geographically the way it is, and because of what a powerhouse cuisine Bengali cuisine is, Assamese cuisine sort of tends to fade a little into the background as far as the rest of the world is concerned, because we haven't really discovered how fantastic that cuisine is. It is completely brilliant. And I, for one, love the flavors of Assamese food. I go to Assam at least twice a year. A lot of the times for, you know, I'm a bird photographer and wildlife photographer, so I go there for that. But the food is something that also draws me back. So I have my favorites all over Assam. So I think Assamese is one. And then Odisha, right next to Bengal. You know, that's the other one that we were discussing and when we had this conversation. Because again, the food of Odisha, again, you know, similar influences, but such wonderful cuisines. I mean, you know, if you go to Puri, the cuisine of Puri in itself is the cuisine of a planet. It's the cuisine of a universe. There is so much food in just Puri, Odisha alone that you have no idea. And then if you start going to Bhubaneswar and start going to other places and putting it together, it's pretty remarkable. Yeah. But you remember any other place that we discussed for any other cuisine that needs to be better known?
Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. I think it's a tough cuisine, you know, because I mean, just because it's a cuisine very high in spice, very high in salt. But if you just look at the flavor profile of Andhra food, I mean, you take something as simple as ulavacharu, this basic horse gram reduction with spices and stuff, and just in terms of that balance of that sourness, that silky, I mean, just, it's such a simple dish and it's still so complex. And there again in Andhra Pradesh, there are multiple regions and each of them has their own type of biryani and their own types of cuisines. So well worth exploring. And just to add to Rocky's bit about Assam also, Assam is still one of those places where they're still trying to, in many ways, preserve a lot of the food history. you'll still get like 10, 15, 20, 30 different types of rice. Different ones for different season, different one for different dishes. They have something called the kumal sol. It's a dish they make. It's a type of chawal for the armies when they used to travel. They couldn't cook, so this is, you can just soak this in water, and then they put spices and they put fresh herbs and stuff, and you get this beautiful dish. They use a lot of produce from the forests. They have, for the sour taste, they have the autenga, the elephant apple. They have khar, which is soda ash. So really to cleanse the palate. So it's actually very, very sophisticated eating habits. Just not dressed up in fancy language or whatever, but really, really seasonal, looking at local produce, and really, really focusing on very, very clean, simple tastes. Very difficult to have one of those meals and go, ab khana nahi khaya jayega. So I would say those, Assam, Odisha, Andhra Pradesh.
Assam, Odisha, Andhra Pradesh. Well, I really hope that our luck is on our side and we get to travel to these places soon. But you've explained it so well. I think we pretty much tasted it. So thanks a lot for that lovely interpretation of what these cuisines mean to you. And honestly speaking, I think you're right. These cuisines are very. I think I love what Rocky also added about how Bengali cuisine is a powerhouse, and thus Assami cuisine probably does take a backseat. And so let me ask you, all these cuisines and all these restaurants that do so well. Number one, I want to understand, because restaurants in the cities tend to fall a trap to this. How do they maintain consistency? You've seen all of them, and you've obviously already told us that they've been popular in their particular respective regions. In your view, what is that one thing that keeps a restaurant consistent with their quality?
I think there are many factors that go in, but by and large, traditionally in India, and I'm talking about the last 10 years, there's been a huge food revolution in India. When we started doing our show in 2007, our agenda, single point agenda, was that there's this whole infusion of burgers and pizzas and chow mein and Japanese food coming in, and Indian food is sort of not getting its place in the sun. So our whole effort in those days was to just bring Indian food out of different parts of the country and bring it all into the mainstream. So because Punjabis didn't know much about Tamil food, and Kannadigas didn't know much about Bengali food, and Bengalis didn't know much about Kashmiri food, and so on and so forth. I think we were pretty successful in doing that. We worked really hard, and I think we woke people's imagination and made them realize that there's so much great food in this country. So the last 10 years I leave out, but traditionally before that, I think it's been the involvement of the owner and the presence of one single entity at a eatery who has controlled the recipes, the ingredients, because to be able to make good food, and this because you're an institute that does this, you have to have the ability of someone to understand how different ingredients will change a dish. How spicy is the chili going to be that day? 3 chilies, yes. I mean, okay, you have a recipe that says add 3 chilies. Now, if you don't specify which chili, if you don't know which chili, if you don't know the difference between a Teja and a Guntur Sannam and a Bhooj Jalokia or a Rajat Mirchi, and you add 3 Bhooj Jalokias instead of 3 Guntur Sannams, people will die when they eat it. They'll be lying on the ground screaming, So I think that, so one person actually drove these things. That's why we had so many like father to son transferences and restaurants that ran for generations. In the modern day, I think it has been tempered, and because of training and because of being proficient, it has changed. But yeah, I mean, a chef bringing his specialty, chef-driven restaurants are the future. Yeah. And the last 10 years has proved that. 10 years ago, chefs were not important people. 10, 15 years ago, they were not very important people. They were important for us, the people you knew. But for most people, they were not. Today, chefs have found their place in the sun. They're very important people. And if a chef is running a good restaurant and he wants to switch over, there'll be 10 people waiting to hire him. Right. So, very important to have a good chef in charge of affairs who's leading your kitchen. Very important to be a modern kitchen, to understand your ingredients, your people, your customers. These are critical things here. So I think going forward, that sleight of, hand, that touch and that feel and that art is going to give way to proficiency and craft and knowledge and efficiency. And that transition is happening now. So we'll see more and more restaurants preserve recipes better and better, and just sort of grow and improve rather than sort of have this downward curve which they all had in the past. Restaurants used to start, one chef used to move out, or somebody used to pass away, and then the food used to go downhill. That hopefully won't happen, and we can retain our food heritage model.
Lovely. Mayur, anything to add to that?
Yeah. Input control. उसमें opportunity भी है and challenge भी है. Challenge ये है, if you compare how much extra work any chef in India has to do every time they have to come and practice their art and their craft, it is mind-boggling. क्योंकि अभी कहीं से गाजर आए हैं, you standardize your recipe with your whatever you have to do. एक बार गाजर आते हैं, एक बार हो सकता है, same with tomato, same with this. So the opportunity there has been that a lot of our wonderful cuisines in India developed because there was no guarantee of really superb produce or ingredients. So you had to develop the art of balancing the ingredients with spices, with herbs, with cooking techniques to make sure that you got the same thing every time. Going forward in the future, if you now look at a lot of the chefs that we speak to, is that if you can control that, if you can get a specific type, a specific flavor, a specific quality of ingredients across the board, then your whole job becomes much easier. Then you can really focus on your art of creating new things with that, because okay, yes, standard hai, instead of having to go and test again and again and again and again. And again, I can give you an example of this.
Yes, please.
Manish Malhotra, we spoke to Chef Manish Malhotra, the Indian accent. He went and he opened in New York and stuff. Yep. They were doing trials for 6 months to crack one dish, their mutton dish, because वहाँ पे lamb बिल्कुल different था. अब वहाँ पे lamb different है, it had a funny taste according to them. So for 6 months they were trying to see how they could balance the spices and their cooking techniques to be able to replicate the that everybody was used to. Now they could have taken the choice and said कि यार कोई इंडिया से आएगा उसको पता लगेगा, बाकी यहाँ पे तो हम बना रहे हैं किसी को क्या पता. But no, excellence also lies in the focus on every customer that comes in. Your effort as a team should be to make sure that they go away with a fantastic, especially in the food trade. More than any other thing, लोग कहते हैं ना कि कोई किसी का अच्छा experience होता है वो एक लोग को बताएगा, किसी का खराब होता है 9 बताएगा. Food business में तो it's ridiculous. So the opportunity is always to, if you can standardize that, then somebody's got your back. Then you have a much better chance of giving a great customer experience. I think वो बहुत जरूरी है. And आगे जाके now we're seeing a lot of companies, a lot of chefs who are going directly to suppliers to source what they need, as opposed to placing orders with middlemen and all, and trusting to that process.
Yeah, I've seen that too. I've seen a lot of chefs connecting directly with farmers and saying that, I want you to produce something specifically to this fit. But no, I think both of you made some very, very interesting points. As a matter of fact, at our institute, we follow the Bible of food. We follow a very set standard set of recipes. We say that, okay, this is what's going to be taught, because at the end of the day, we're playing a very, very important role in the industry. Of year after year, when a batch comes out, they all have to be equally trained. They can't be that the last batch was different than the next batch, and so on and so forth. So we see the importance of that through and through. I really appreciate your views on that. Now, I want to ask you, since we are in the trade of training chefs, training students to become chefs, what kind of space or what kind of opportunity do you see for qualified chefs in these highway restaurants or eateries that have been there for so long and become so popular? Because whilst in the city the environment is very similar to any city. You get a job in a good 5-star hotel or a good restaurant like Indian Accent, there's a ladder to climb. But if they were to go and either start something of their own outside or join something, is there an opportunity for qualified chefs outside the city as well, do you think?
Opportunity is what you make of it. Yeah, most people will probably not want to go down that route because of in many cases the whole culture of dhabas also sadly is in many parts of our country is fading away. The dhabas may still be there, but now they all have the same 50 things on their menu. Paneer butter masala and butter chicken and this and that with some regional specialty. So I think the whole future of that type of dhaba and all is in danger. So I think as a career, probably not. As an entrepreneur, if you want to, I mean, the opportunities could be immense. There are certain people in the restaurant and believe that is the future. You know, India is expanding. We are adding highways at a ridiculous rate. People are going to want to travel. So there are always opportunities because not everybody is going to want to do a 6-hour trip just because it's a beautiful from point A to point B. For many people still, it's going to be about the journey, about the pit stops, about where they're going to stop, what they're going to experience. So it is an opportunity, but it is a limited opportunity currently. So for those that are brave enough to take that and you know, find the right place and give it the right thing, the possibilities could be immense.
All right. Anything to add?
My take is slightly different to this. I'm saying for the next year at least, or year and a half, most Indians are not going to want to travel abroad. They're going to want to travel within the country so that, you know, they can sort of remain in some control with the disease that's around, which means there'll be a lot more people on the highways going for holidays, which means there's an opportunity. There's always an opportunity. But what you have to realize is in a dhaba or a highway eatery, you can't control the clientele that you get. You get a very mixed clientele. If somebody doesn't like the food, he might decide to break the plates and scream and shout. You know, you have to handle that. If somebody doesn't like the food, they might just decide to walk out without paying. You may have to handle that. You're in the middle of some, you know, region where perhaps the police and all that is not that efficient. Your electricity is not that consistent. Your water supply is poor. I mean, there's 100 problems. So most chefs, you know, just want to make good food and run an organized kitchen. I think when the country develops and highways offer more opportunities, more chefs will get out on the highways because a better kitchen is a chef-run kitchen. You know, kitchen with cooks who have been trained because Ustad was doing this for 10 years, Ustad ne sikha diya aur humne kar diya, will never be the same as a guy whose brain is working and he's trained to handle those things. But appreciation for these things will come in time. I mean, as long as we have this whole thing of, you know, कि कोरोना वायरस है तो गौमूत्र पियो ठीक हो जाओगे, तो वो तब तक तो यही हाल चलेगा भाई, तब तक तो
पता नहीं किसी बार में आया क्यों नहीं था गौमूत्र कॉकटेल.
हाँ, आ जाएगा यार. It'll come soon and it might even be compulsory cocktail whoever walks in. But it's a better idea to actually, you know, be more scientific. Trust, you know, rely on doctors more. I mean, I would prefer to rely on a doctor than rely on animal urine, whichever animal that may be, however lovely it may be. तो मेरे को उससे लगता है कि a chef given an opportunity, because it has to be a street that works both ways. There's not too much money to be made in a dhaba. Some of them are barely hand to mouth. तो अगर chef पहुंच जाएगा तो income होएगी, कमाई बढ़ेगी, सबका फायदा होगा. People will realize that slowly Indians are going to become smarter. They've had a few shocks. They're in for a lot more shocks coming. The shocks will hopefully run the brain a little and they'll realize that a modern, civilized, educated, sensible, you know, अगर medical problem है तो doctor की बात सुनो, financial problem है तो किसी economics या CA की बात सुनो, अगर you know, construction problem है तो किसी architect को से बात कर लो. ये नहीं कि आपको, you know, गाना सीखना है तो आपने कहा जी मेरे आंटी का फूफा जो है वो इंजीनियर है, वो बड़ा अच्छा गाना गाता है, वो मेरे को सिखाएगा. उसको इंजीनियरिंग करने दो भाई. तुम गाना सीखना है, किसी गुरु के पास जाओ, संगीत सिखाएगा तुमको, तुम्हारा फायदा होगा.
Yeah, to top it all off, Google कर लो. That's a lot of answers. All the best that is going around is, you know, it's on WhatsApp. It's got to be true.
Yeah. Google. I have a good idea to become maybe Google Baba. Yeah, I can answer everybody's questions using Google. यार कुछ बना मेरे को बाबा.
मेरे को सिर्फ उसमें एक सजेशन है कि पहले बाबा बन जाओ, पहले मतलब 5-6 लाख करोड़ कमा ले, उसके बाद नाम गूगल बाबा रखना, क्योंकि जब कॉपीराइट इन्फ्रिंजमेंट आएगा वो भी गूगल से, तो 2-3 लाख करोड़ तो देने पड़ेंगे. सो यू शुड हैव अ बिग इनफ बैंक टू से कि ले लो थोड़ा खाओ थोड़ा लो.
I'll wear dark glasses like many babas and call myself Goggle Baba.
ये ठीक है. गॉगल बाबा की जाओ, पहला भक्त तो मिल गया.
All right. Listen, we're coming towards the end of our segment, so I just have 2 more questions. Now, you know, for our students, There obviously, you know, a majority of our students dream and aspire to run their own business once they graduate at some point, whether it's right after or much later. Now, in your views, because you consult and you advise so many brands and of course see so many brands succeed, what is it that makes a chef and his brand succeed? What is that one thing, if you could, you know, encapsulate it in one essence? So
Ability. If it's one word, I'll just say ability here. I mean, all your chefs who get out know, all these young chefs, some of them are very, very talented and very clever and they do really well. But my advice to you would be get into a kitchen, you know, spend your time peeling potatoes and chopping carrots for hours a day. Understand what it takes to run a kitchen, because being educated is one thing and being able to perform and utilize an education in a competitive world is a very, very different thing. So without understanding the real challenges of what happens in a restaurant on the ground, because no school can teach you that. There's 1,000 things that can go wrong in a restaurant. No school will prepare you for it. It's only when you get out into these restaurants and you start working, you know, give it 3, 4, 5 years, understand how the business models work, understand how APCs control the dynamics, how, you know, how many tables you have to churn over in a day, you know, how to make sure that your client is the happiest, how to give the best every time. There are 100 things that you need to learn. If you get out there and say, I want to be a star chef, I want to be on TV, I'm going to do this, or I want to run my own restaurant tomorrow onwards, you will have a much more difficult time and you'll perhaps not be able to use your abilities to the highest level. So hone yourself, hone your skills. You know, before you become a wrestler, for example, you must be able to exercise for 3 hours, eat well, sleep well, build your body up, become really powerful, get the right weight. Then you can learn from somebody, learn all the moves, maneuvers, techniques, then become a wrestler. Same thing with being chefs. Practice karo, फिर जाओ और अपने माँ बाप का नाम रोशन करो, इंस्टीट्यूट का नाम रोशन करो, हमें फ्री खाना खिलाओ. Very important.
Lovely advice. And Mayur, you?
I would say, to add to what everything Rocky said, I would say persistence. And I love giving examples. So I'll give you an example. Way back when we first started the show, there was this young boy called Rishabh Seal. So, you know, we used to say, write into us at yummy@ndtvgoodtimes.com, suggestion even. So उसने एक बार लिखा कि I love your show and this, that, and आपके show देख के मैं convinced हो गया. My parents want me to do engineering or whatever, but I want to be a chef. So we said, it's wonderful that, you know, you've got these stars in your eyes and all, but socially, because it's a very, very hard life. I mean, if you ask me and Rocky, we say that you really have to be half mad to be a chef, because jitna kaam, jitna focus, jitna aaz, jitna karna padta hai, it is, you really have to love it. So he's like, Nani, I'm there. So we said, okay, good luck. So he stayed in touch with us. Then he applied to IHM Bombay. फिर वहां से लिखता था कि I'm now studying there. Then he said, अब मैं chef बनूंगा. Then he got back and said, now I'm looking for. So he did his internship and all. Then he said, no, I want international experience. He's a boy from Kolkata. So he said, good, yeah, go try. He started writing. He wrote to 500 Michelin star top 10 restaurants in the world. Finally, Aponiente, Angel Leon, which is one of the top 50, I think, restaurants in the world. Seafood. They wrote and said, yes, we'll consider it, but आपको ये paperwork करना है. फिर वो लगा रहा. He asked us for help. We were fortunate that we were able to help him out. He got his visa and all in time. Last minute, he went. He did that. Then he said, I want to learn more and all. Then he wanted to go to Gagan in Bangkok. So he went to Gagan in Bangkok. Again, he tried. Jaan, haath, pair, maar diye. Got multiple refusals. He didn't give up. He went there. Halfway through his internship there, he got into an accident, broke his hip bone and stuff. Couldn't walk. Came back to India, healed, applied again, went back there, got everything done. Now he's looking at whatever next he wants to do, you know, and this coronavirus has come. So that boy, I mean, there must have been many other people in his class. He is persistent. He knows what he wants and he's willing to go out there and get it and do whatever it takes. And it's not just hard work. Like Rocky loves saying, Gada bhi bahut hard work karta hai. But it's also knowing what you want, seeing where you can reach out in life to find the right resources for guidance, for help if necessary, and then keep proving yourself. So every time he comes back to me and Rocky now to ask for any help, we're very happy to give it because we know this boy is sincere. We know that he's focused, that he's committed. So like with everything else, especially when you see all the chefs and you say, I want to be Ranveer Brar, or I want to be Manish Mehrotra, or I want to be like Vicky Ratnani or Rocky and Mayur. Please appreciate the fact कि पहले 8, 10, 15 साल रगड़ आपको खानी पड़ेगी. There is no shortcut for them. If any of you are thinking that IICA से निकल के in 6 months you are going to be the next hotshot thing, we would love to see that happen, but it's not happened till date. It takes a lot of blood, sweat, hard work, and I'm sure you all will apply it. And we hope that whoever is watching, that each and every one of you becomes somebody that Rocky and I will visit many, many times to enjoy your food. ये देखो हम subtle hint डालते रहेंगे और कुछ नहीं रहेगा. इस talk में याद ये जरूर रहेगा रात को जब सोओगे कि जब मैं शेफ बनूंगा रॉकी एंड मयूर को खाना खिलाऊंगा. मंत्र बना लो.
I love how you say it's subtle. That's the best part. I love how he says it's subtle.
This is our idea of subtle. याद रखना.
याद रखेंगे sir, याद रखेंगे. अच्छा, my last question for this segment. We've really enjoyed listening to you, and now what we want to know is, since you're always spoiled for choices with food, if you were put in a situation, one entire year on an island with nothing else but one choice of food, what would it be? Just whatever comes to your mind first. Nothing else, just the same thing over and over again the whole year. What would it be?
एक चीज मत दो यार, चिकन करी भिंडी और चपाती विद प्याज और अचार दे दो यार कम से कम.
Alright, so what? Chicken curry, bhindi, pyaz,
and chapati यार, और क्या चाहिए इंसान को?
Simple.
For a good Punjabi boy from Delhi, एक मसालेदार चिकन करी, उसके साथ अपनी ब्यूटीफुल सॉफ्ट भिंडी, उसके साथ एक कड़क चपाती रोटी और उसके साथ प्याज, उसमें नींबू मसाला लच्छा बना के, एक साल या 2-3 साल भी चलेगा यार, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं.
All right, so still want spoiled for choice. All right, we can do that. Mayur, for you, one thing only, not a thali. One thing है.
जलेबी रसमलाई.
एक thing, उसमें भी एक thing नहीं हुई.
ये ना रबड़ी हटा दी. देखो जलेबी के साथ रबड़ी मिलती है. जलेबी रबड़ी में I gave up और मैंने उसमें रसमलाई डाल दी. जलेबी रसमलाई. Fusion. It's the wave of the future. Innovation.
नहीं, it's the wave right now also. Confusion and fusion दोनों साथ-साथ चल रहे हैं आजकल. You see a lot of that happening together. Anyways, guys, I can't thank you enough. Not only has your conversation made us really hungry, and I'm not just saying that, genuinely, you've given us names of dishes that we'll only dream about now, because travel to kya karenge? We'll either be cooking them ourselves, which I hope that a lot of people are doing, or we'll look forward to your next road trip whenever it is. And of course, your podcast is it out there already? We can download it.
Yeah, just to have you on my podcast. It's on all the Audible, all the podcast platforms. Apple पे भी है, Audible पे भी है, सब पे है.
All right, so folks, please start subscribing. You don't want to miss this. And guys, thank you so much. You've been gentlemen and lovely, lovely guests today. I really want to thank you both for being here and inspiring us. And more power to both of you, to Highway on My Plate, to your books, and many other endeavors that you do. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Rocky, any last words?
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a pleasure chatting with you. Thank you for having us on. I hope at least your students are watching this and they enjoyed the chat. I would like to just point out, if you want to know which are the finest restaurants across the country, go to our YouTube channel. It's called Rocky and Mayur. If you subscribe to our channel, we release 90-second videos called India's Best Restaurants. So you will find, any city you enter, if you enter Rocky and Mayur Hyderabad or Rocky and Mayur Kolkata, Rocky and Mayur Bangalore, whatever, you will find lots of little 90-second videos of the best restaurants in those cities. So that's a really valuable asset for all chefs.
Thank you.
Get out, see the cuisine, see the best dishes those restaurants put out. There are hundreds and hundreds of different dishes from all over the country. So, subscribe to Rocky and Mayur on YouTube, on our channel on YouTube. It's one word, ROCKYANDMAYUR, one word, Rocky and Mayur. And that'll be beneficial, yeah. So enjoy that, students.
That's a great, I think, opportunity for us to, at least in this, under these circumstances, to learn about those cuisines until we can, of course, physically go there and travel. Thanks a lot for that. Mayur, any last words from you?
Yeah. Very quickly. So Rocky and I also run a learning company. So we work with corporates, we work with students, we work with large brands. in the areas of leadership, team building and stuff. So and this is very specifically not for so much for you, Arjun. This is for all of you who are watching, who are still there at the end of the talk, and you will thank yourselves for being here till the end of this talk. तो एक हम कहानी सुनाते हैं. Right in the beginning in the 1900s, मैनचेस्टर में जूते बड़े अच्छे बनते थे. उन्होंने 2 सेल्समैन भेजे अफ्रीका. उनको बोला यार अफ्रीका में जाके मार्केट ढूंढो क्या है जूते बेचने के लिए. One salesman and sent back a telegraph. Nobody here wears shoes. It is a disaster. The other guy wrote back and said, this is an amazing opportunity. Nobody here wears shoes yet. ठीक है? तो अभी जो हमारी इंडस्ट्री है ना खाने की एंड रेस्टोरेंट की, we're all worried about it, and I know that all of you who are watching, a lot of you are thinking अभी रेस्टोरेंट तो खुल नहीं रहे हैं. अब सब कह रहे हैं कि आधे रेस्टोरेंट बंद हो जाएंगे. हम चले शेफ बनने या work in the restaurant industry. It doesn't matter. From this, yes, it is restriction, but from this restriction are going to arise many opportunities to look at food a different way, to look at how you serve food a different way, to how you let people experience food in a different way. And you are at this wonderful time of your life where right now you have the safety of being a student and learning and stuff and being able to watch the best examples of what is happening out there and the freedom of mind to come out with what new you think might work. Because अभी आप अपनी investment नहीं कर रहे restaurant में कि आप you're not running a restaurant and saying कि अभी almost पैसे नहीं हैं पर मैं कुछ नया try करता हूँ. You don't even have that. You have the luxury of having time to think. So look at this time as a time of opportunity and see that what you're going to do, and that will really serve you in good stead for the rest of your career. Because at many stages in your career, every career, including me and Rocky, you will come to points where you'll say, "अच्छा अब ये हो गया, अब ये हो गया." Now either it's not that much fun anymore, or it's not that entertaining anymore, or it's not giving me the kind of return I wanted. What am I going to do new? If you leave yourself open to that opportunity, there's always something new you can do. What you're building now is your foundation. अपनी foundation strong कर लो. उसके बाद उसके कैसे type का building बनानी है और कितनी ऊंची बनानी है. The sky is the limit. Believe that. In every challenge, in every shortage, there is huge opportunity. So good luck to all of you with whatever you want to do with all your opportunities.
That's wonderful advice and golden words. I must say the story that you've told is absolutely inspiring. And both of you, please keep inspiring us, keep sharing these stories with us. And we look forward to seeing you back on the road very soon, where you really explore some of the most hidden gems of this country. Thank you so much for being with us, and lovely speaking to both of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you all of you for watching. Thanks. Bye.